you ever feel like you're following a path that isn't truly yours? Perhaps you've achieved what society tells you should bring contentment, a stable job, a comfortable life, a certain status, yet deep down there's a persistent whisper, a nagging sense that something essential is missing. You might find yourself scrolling through endless feeds, pursuing fleeting distractions, all while an unspoken question lingers: is this all there is? It's a feeling that resonates deeply in our fast-paced modern world, a collective longing for authenticity, for a purpose that truly aligns with who we are. We're constantly searching, often unknowingly, for a compass to navigate the complexities of existence, to find principles that can guide us toward a life well lived. But here's the fascinating truth: this search for meaning, this quest for self-discovery, is not unique to our era. It is a timeless journey, an ancient impulse that has driven countless individuals across generations and civilizations. From the earliest philosophers grappling with ethics to spiritual seekers looking inward, the fundamental questions remain the same: how should we live? What truly constitutes a good life? And how do we find our own truth amidst a chorus of external expectations? We're not here today to offer you quick, easy answers or a step-by-step manual to instant enlightenment. Instead, we invite you on a profound intellectual and existential adventure, a journey that promises to equip you with a powerful new way of looking at life's most enduring questions, offering a framework for understanding not just what you should do, but why. To help us embark on this timeless quest, we're going to turn to a literary classic, Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha. Through the vivid narrative of a young man's relentless pursuit of truth and self-knowledge, we'll explore the universal human struggle to find one's authentic path, to understand happiness, and to navigate the often conflicting demands of individual desire and collective well-being. Siddhartha's quest, much like our own, is one of seeking, questioning, and ultimately finding a unique answer to the age-old dilemma of how to live a truly fulfilling life. Welcome, fellow travelers, to an exploration that I truly believe can reshape how we view our lives. Today we're diving deep into a book that, for me, has always been far more than just ink on paper. We're talking about Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha. Now, if you've ever felt a quiet yearning for something deeper, a sense that there's more to understand about yourself and the world than what daily routines offer, then you're already on the path that Siddhartha himself walked. This isn't merely a novel you read, it's an experience you undergo, a journey you embark upon alongside its protagonist. I remember a time, not so long ago, when I felt profoundly lost. It was a period marked by significant personal upheaval, where the foundations I'd built my life upon seemed to crumble around me. Every decision felt monumental, every path uncertain, and the future a blurry canvas of unknowns. I was grappling with questions of purpose, identity, and what truly constitutes a meaningful existence. In the midst of that swirling chaos, I picked up Siddhartha again. I'd read it before years earlier, but this time it resonated with a force I hadn't anticipated. As Siddhartha shed the comforts of his Brahmin upbringing, ventured into asceticism, then embraced the material world as a wealthy merchant, and finally found peace as a simple ferryman, I saw echoes of my own fragmented quest. His unwavering commitment to seeking truth, not in dogma or external teachings, but within the rich tapestry of his own experiences, his joys, his sorrows, his triumphs, and his profound mistakes, it offered me a profound sense of comfort. It wasn't about finding a definitive answer in the book, but about understanding that the very act of seeking, of living fully and openly, was the answer itself. It helped me reframe my own confusion, not as a failure, but as an essential part of my unique journey towards understanding. It provided a quiet affirmation that every step, every choice, even the difficult ones, held lessons vital for growth. And that's exactly what we're going to do together. This video series isn't just a literary analysis, it's an invitation to distill Siddhartha's timeless wisdom and translate it into practical insights for our modern lives. How do we navigate the complexities of ambition and contentment? What does it mean to truly listen, not just to others, but to the river of life flowing within and around us? How do we find our own path to enlightenment, whatever that might look like for each of us, amidst the constant distractions and demands of the 21st century? We'll explore Siddhartha's encounters with different teachers and philosophies, his immersion in both the spiritual and the sensual, and his ultimate realization that wisdom often lies not in accumulated knowledge, but in a profound sense of unity and presence. We'll look at how his journey mirrors our own struggles with identity, relationships, and the search for inner peace, offering us a roadmap not of specific answers, but of a way to approach these universal human dilemmas. So, whether you've read Siddhartha a dozen times, or this is your very first encounter with its magic, I warmly invite you to join me. Let's embark on this shared exploration, not as passive listeners, but as active participants in a dialogue with a story that has illuminated countless paths for generations. Grab a cup of your favorite tea, find a comfortable spot, and let's dive into the river of wisdom that is Siddhartha. I'm genuinely excited to journey with you. Welcome, listeners, to a journey that begins not with a grand declaration, but with a quiet ache. An ache often dismissed, often hidden, yet powerful enough to reshape destinies. We're about to delve into the first chapter of personal revolution, the profound dissatisfaction with a life that, on the surface, appears utterly, flawlessly perfect. This is the genesis of change, the uncomfortable truth that ignites major transformations. Imagine, for a moment, the world of Siddhartha, the young Brahmin's son whose story has echoed through centuries. Born into privilege, bathed in respect, surrounded by every comfort his revered caste offered. His days were filled with sacred teachings, profound philosophical discussions, and ancient rituals. He possessed a brilliant mind, charismatic presence, and the unwavering devotion of those around him. By all external measures, Siddhartha's life was an enviable tapestry of success, purpose, and spiritual pursuit. He was destined for greatness within his society, walking a path laid out since birth, one promising ultimate wisdom and bliss. Yet, beneath this gleaming veneer of perfection, a persistent, gnawing void opened. The chants, rich with tradition, began to sound hollow. The wisdom of his elders, though intellectually stimulating, failed to quench a deeper thirst. The rituals, performed with the devout precision, felt like empty gestures unable to touch his core. He excelled in everything, absorbed every teaching, yet found no true solace, no profound joy, no genuine fulfillment. This wasn't a lack of anything material, it was a profound spiritual and existential emptiness that no amount of external success or prescribed piety could fill. It was the crushing realization, even with everything society tells you you should want, you can still feel utterly lost. This is the precipice of a great departure, a moment demanding immense courage. It takes extraordinary strength to look at a life others would kill for, a life society deems ideal, and declare, this is not enough. It requires a willingness to question the very foundations upon which your world is built, to challenge the path diligently laid out by generations of tradition and expectation. It means braving judgment, misunderstanding, and outright scorn from those who cannot comprehend why you'd abandon such an exalted position for an uncertain quest. Siddhartha contended with the internal battle fear of the unknown, comfort of the familiar, guilt of disappointing loved ones, all while battling external pressures to conform. This decision, this initial ache and the resolve to act, is the true beginning of his legend. And this ache, this profound dissonance between outer appearance and inner reality, is not confined to ancient tales or spiritual seekers. It is a universal human experience, acutely relevant in our modern world. How many of us find ourselves caught in the grip of what we call golden handcuffs? We might have the high-paying job, the impressive title, the beautiful home, the seemingly perfect family, the Instagram-worthy life, all the markers of success our society champions. Yet, beneath it all, there's that same quiet hum of dissatisfaction, that relentless whisper, "Is this all there is?" We become trapped by our own success, afraid to let go of security, prestige, and comfort, even as our souls cry out for something more meaningful. The fear of losing what we have, the perceived absurdity of wanting more when we already have everything, often keeps us tethered to unfulfilling paths. We stay because the alternative, the unknown, the risk, the judgment feels too terrifying. But it is in this very tension, this fundamental question of what constitutes a truly good and fulfilling life, that the philosophy of John Stuart Mill truly begins to resonate, offering us a framework to understand and navigate these human longings. We delve now into Chapter 2, The Path of Denial: Can You Hate Yourself into Happiness? Our journey with Siddhartha takes a dramatic turn as he immerses himself in the ascetic life of the Samanas. This chapter, while seemingly a detour from John Stuart Mill, offers a profound parallel. Mill, remember, sought the greatest good, the highest happiness. Here, Siddhartha seeks enlightenment, a state he believes will bring ultimate freedom and peace. But his method, and what he learns from its failure, speaks volumes about the very nature of pursuing well-being. Leaving behind the comforts and teachings of his youth, Siddhartha joins these wandering ascetics, men committed to an extreme path of self-mortification. Their philosophy was stark: to silence the clamoring demands of the ego, to extinguish the self entirely, was the only route to true knowledge and liberation. And so, Siddhartha threw himself into their regimen with an intensity that few could match. Imagine the practice's days stretching into weeks of rigorous fasting, where hunger gnawed at the body, not as a deterrent, but as a welcome teacher of detachment. He learned to endure the scorching sun and the biting cold without complaint, training his senses to ignore physical discomfort. His meditation became an almost violent act of mental suppression, an attempt to empty the mind of all thought, desire, and personality. He sought to become nothing, to dissolve his individual identity into the universal Om, convinced that this complete abnegation was the only way to escape the cycle of suffering and find the ultimate truth. He believed that by denying every impulse, every pleasure, every attachment, he could starve the ego, the self, into submission and thereby achieve a profound and lasting enlightenment. The ideal was not just discipline, but annihilation of the personal will. Yet, after years of this relentless striving, a crucial, almost ironic realization dawned on Siddhartha. He observed the Samanas, and he observed himself, and he saw a fundamental flaw in their noble, but ultimately misguided, pursuit. He discovered that this very act of fiercely denying the self, of striving to extinguish it, was in itself a powerful manifestation of the self. The I that desperately wanted to get rid of the I was still the I. The ego, far from being starved into non-existence, had merely adopted a new, subtler disguise. It had become the spiritual ego, proud of its discipline, proud of its suffering, proud of its supposed transcendence. Siddhartha saw clearly that this forced asceticism, this constant struggle against his own nature, was not leading him to wisdom, but merely to a more sophisticated form of self-deception. It was a performance, a prolonged act of willpower, not an authentic transformation. His conclusion was unequivocal wisdom, true understanding, and lasting peace could not be hammered into existence through forceful self-abnegation. It could not be learned through the mere negation of experience, nor could it be achieved by brute forcing one's mind and body into a state of presumed purity. He hadn't found enlightenment, he had merely perfected the art of self-control and, crucially, recognized its limits. Now, let's cast our gaze to our own modern world. Does this echo sound familiar? In a very different context, we too often find ourselves drawn to extreme paths of discipline. We chase productivity hacks with an almost religious fervor, optimizing every minute, every task, convinced that relentless efficiency will lead us to success, to happiness, to a better us. We embrace rigid ideologies, whether dietary, political, or self-help, adhering to their tenets with an unyielding conviction, believing that strict adherence will somehow grant us control, purpose, or a definitive path to well-being. We push ourselves to exhaustion, deny our needs, and override our intuition, all in the name of self-improvement, growth, or simply getting ahead. Are we, in our own way, attempting to hate ourselves into happiness? Are we convinced that, by suppressing our natural inclinations, by constantly battling our perceived imperfections, by adhering to an almost punitive regimen, we will somehow arrive at a state of ultimate contentment or enlightened productivity? Siddhartha's experience with the samanas serves as a powerful reminder that while discipline has its place, true wisdom and perhaps true happiness cannot be forced. It often blossoms not from militant suppression, but from understanding, acceptance, and a more integrated approach to self and world. He realized that this path of denial, though well-intentioned, ultimately bypassed the very essence of human experience it sought to transcend. And with this profound insight, Siddhartha knew he had to move on. His quest for understanding was far from over, but the direction had shifted irrevocably. The path of pure self-denial had proven to be a dead end. The long journey through the forests and plains of India brought Siddhartha and Govinda to the threshold of a momentous encounter. They had heard the whispers, the reports of a fully enlightened being, Gautama, the Buddha who walked among men, teaching a path to liberation. It was with a mixture of profound hope and eager anticipation that they finally approached the grove where the Buddha resided, a place said to hum with an unparalleled spiritual energy. And there he was, Gautama the Buddha. His presence was not one of ostentatious display or dramatic power, but of an utterly serene and unshakable inner peace. He moved with a quiet dignity, his face bearing the marks of a wisdom so profound it transcended mere intellect. His eyes, though often downcast, held a depth that seemed to encompass all suffering and all understanding. He spoke, and his voice was clear, resonant, and calm, delivering the teachings, the Dharma, with an eloquent simplicity that laid bare the deepest truths of existence. He spoke of suffering and its cessation, of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, a meticulously mapped-out journey to enlightenment. His doctrine was comprehensive, logical, and beautiful, a perfect jewel of spiritual wisdom. For Govinda, this was the end of his quest, the answer to every question. He listened, rapt, his heart overflowing with recognition and devotion. Here finally was the master he had sought, the perfect teacher, the true path. Govinda, without hesitation, decided to remain, to join the Buddha's community, to walk the path laid out by the enlightened one. For him, the flaw lay in his own past seeking, not in the idea of following a guide as profound as Gautama. But for Siddhartha, though he too recognized the immense truth and beauty in the Buddha's words, and held the highest reverence for Gautama himself, a different realization began to blossom, a seed of dissent that would irrevocably alter his trajectory. He saw the perfection of the teachings, he witnessed the peace of the Buddha's followers, but he also perceived a fundamental limitation, not of the teaching, but of the act of receiving it. His profound insight was this: Gautama had found his path, his enlightenment, through his own unique journey, his own battles, his own direct, lived experience. He had cultivated wisdom within himself, forged it through struggle and self-discovery. While the Buddha could articulate his findings, describe the path, even transmit certain states of mind to his disciples, he could not truly transfer the experience of enlightenment itself. He could describe the taste of a ripe mango with unparalleled eloquence, but he could not make Siddhartha taste it without Siddhartha biting into the fruit himself. The flaw, then, was not in the Buddha, who was undoubtedly a beacon of truth, but in the assumption that one could simply inherit or be given enlightenment. True understanding, Siddhartha realized, must be lived. It must be earned through one's own unique suffering, one's own unique joy, one's own unique mistakes, and one's own unique epiphanies. To simply follow another's path, no matter how perfect that path might be, would be to walk in someone else's footsteps, never truly finding one's own footing, never truly integrating the wisdom into the deepest parts of one's own being. This was the pivotal decision. Siddhartha, with a respectful bow and a heart full of gratitude for the profound encounter, knew he could not stay. His path diverged here. He understood that ultimate personal responsibility for one's own spiritual journey was paramount. No teacher, no doctrine, no community, however wise or compassionate, could absolve him of the necessity of living his own life, making his own mistakes, and discovering his own truth. He could not merely be a vessel for another's wisdom. He had to become the source of his own. And so, Siddhartha, now truly alone, walked away from the Buddha and his Sangha, leaving his dearest friend Govinda behind. He walked not in despair, but with a new, fierce clarity, understanding that his journey had only just begun, and that the answers he sought lay not in following, but in an uncompromising commitment to his own unique solitary quest. We arrive now at a pivotal moment, a turning point in understanding, not just the search for truth, but the very foundation upon which John Stuart Mill built his philosophy of utilitarianism. Imagine a moment of profound solitude, not born of loneliness, but of absolute, liberating independence. It's the experience of shedding every borrowed thought, every inherited dogma, every precept taught by another, until you stand unencumbered, truly alone with your own consciousness. This isn't isolation, it's emancipation. For Mill, this intellectual freedom, this ability to stand apart from traditional moral codes, was crucial. It allows us to truly observe the world, rather than merely perceive it through the lens of inherited biases. In this space of newfound autonomy, a remarkable shift in perspective takes hold. The world, which perhaps once seemed a chaotic illusion to be escaped or a set of rigid rules to be obeyed, transforms. It becomes instead a vast, living text. Each interaction, every consequence, every ripple of joy or suffering becomes a legible word, a sentence in the grand narrative of human experience. This is the very essence of the empirical approach that underpins utilitarianism. Mill wasn't interested in abstract good. He looked to the world itself, the observable realities of happiness and pain to determine moral action. The world isn't an obstacle, it's the primary source for ethical inquiry. This radical shift demands a profound trust in one's inner voice, and more importantly, in direct experience above all else. No longer can we outsource our moral compass to ancient scriptures, revered teachers, or societal conventions. Instead, we are compelled to engage with the world firsthand, to witness the tangible outcomes of actions, policies, and decisions. When we consider the greatest good for the greatest number, as Mill urged, we are not consulting an unchangeable law, we are observing the actual impact on individuals and communities. Our senses become our most reliable instruments, our capacity for empathy our most vital guide. What actually produces happiness? What actually alleviates suffering? These aren't questions answered by abstract reasoning alone, but by careful, compassionate observation. To truly embrace this empirical, experiential path, we must confront the liberating, sometimes disorienting, power of unlearning. We must consciously shed what we think we know, dismantle assumptions ingrained in us by tradition, culture, or even past philosophies. Many moral systems prior to utilitarianism relied on fixed duties, divine commands, or inherent rights irrespective of consequences. To adopt Mill's framework, we often need to unlearn these fixed points and open ourselves to the fluidity of consequences and the observable impact on human well-being. This unlearning creates the necessary intellectual space, making room not for new dogmas, but for what we can discover through direct engagement with reality. This awakening, this decision to learn directly from the world itself, is not just a personal philosophical journey, it is the methodological bedrock of utilitarianism. It calls us to be scientists of morality, observing, testing, and refining our understanding of good based on empirical evidence, the lived experiences of sentient beings. It's a journey that liberates us to seek genuine well-being, guided not by blind faith or rigid rules, but by the compassionate wisdom gleaned from the vast, illuminating text of the world itself. We've explored the philosophical underpinnings of John Stuart Mill's utilitarianism, delving into its principles of the greatest happiness for the greatest number and its nuanced understanding of pleasure and higher faculties. Now, to truly grasp the breadth of human experience that informs such a philosophy, let us turn our gaze to a powerful literary journey, one that beautifully illustrates the immersion in the world of the senses and the profound lessons gleaned from it. We speak of Siddhartha, a seeker who, having shed the asceticism of his youth, now steps into what he believes is a necessary education, the embrace of worldly life. This pivotal phase in Siddhartha's journey is not a retreat from spiritual pursuit, but rather a courageous expansion of it. He enters a bustling city, a realm of sound, color, and desire, a stark contrast to the quietude he once knew. Here, he meets Kamala, a courtesan of extraordinary beauty, intelligence, and grace. Kamala becomes his first great teacher in this new world. Through her, Siddhartha learns not just the art of physical love and desire, but also the intricate dance of human connection, the subtle language of pleasure, and the aesthetic appreciation of beauty in all its forms. Kamala introduces him to the richness of the senses, the aroma of jasmine, the taste of fine wine, the texture of silk, the music of human conversation. She teaches him patience, the value of charm, and the power of presence. This isn't a mere indulgence in hedonism, it's a deliberate, almost scholarly, exploration of a fundamental aspect of human existence that he had previously denied himself. It is a lesson in how beauty, sensuality, and affection contribute to the tapestry of human well-being, a concept not alien to utilitarian considerations of a full and happy life. Parallel to his education with Kamala, Siddhartha also encounters Kamaswami, a shrewd and successful merchant. Under Kamaswami's tutelage, Siddhartha quickly learns the ways of commerce. He develops an extraordinary aptitude for business, not out of greed, but out of a deep curiosity to understand this aspect of human interaction. He becomes wealthy, living a life of unprecedented luxury. His days are filled with fine food, exquisite clothing, lavish homes, and the constant hum of transactions. He experiences the thrill of success, the comfort of material abundance, and the social standing that comes with it. This period marks a profound immersion in the material world, where every sensation is heightened, every comfort readily available. He experiences the fleeting joys and subtle anxieties that accompany the accumulation of wealth and the pursuit of status, understanding them not as ends in themselves, but as further data points in his grand experiment of living. It is crucial to understand that this period, often misconstrued as Siddhartha's fall from grace by those who cling to a singular, ascetic path to enlightenment, is in fact nothing of the sort. For Siddhartha, it is a vital, indeed a necessary, phase of his human education. He believes, profoundly, that all experiences hold a lesson, that true understanding cannot be achieved by merely rejecting parts of existence, but by embracing them fully, by living through them. He sought to understand humanity not from a distance, but from within its very fabric. How can one truly empathize, truly comprehend the nature of happiness or suffering, if one has not tasted the full spectrum of human experience? This journey into the sensual and material world is a deliberate act of learning, a broadening of his soul, enabling him to speak the language of common people, to understand their desires and their disappointments firsthand. This brings us to a profound realization that resonates deeply with a holistic view of human flourishing. Spirituality isn't necessarily separate from worldly life, but can often be found within it. Siddhartha's journey demonstrates that enlightenment isn't solely reserved for mountaintops or monastic cells. It can emerge from the marketplace, from the touch of a lover, from the taste of a mango, from the success of a business deal. These worldly experiences, when approached with awareness and a seeking spirit, can reveal the interconnectedness of all things, the impermanence of pleasure, and the underlying unity of existence. It is through the full, conscious engagement with the world, its joys and its sorrows, its beauty and its trivialities, that Siddhartha begins to forge a more complete understanding of what it means to be human, and ultimately, to find his own path to a profound and integrated sense of peace. This journey into the rich tapestry of life's experiences provides a powerful context for understanding how a philosophy like utilitarianism, which seeks to maximize human happiness and well-being, must consider the multifaceted nature of our desires, our pleasures, and our profound capacity for growth through all forms of engagement with the world. We now arrive at a pivotal, painful juncture in our journey, exploring what happens when the very game of life consumes the player, leading to a profound sickness of the soul. This isn't just about financial ruin, it's about the erosion of self, the silencing of one's deepest purpose. Consider Siddhartha, once a fervent seeker, who, through a fateful turn, plunges into the bustling world of wealth and worldly pleasures. Initially, this new life with Kamala, the merchant Kamaswami, and the lavish surroundings offered a captivating novelty. It promised a different kind of fulfillment, a mastery over the material realm. Yet, what began as an exploration of the senses, a purposeful dive into the child people's world to understand them, slowly, insidiously, transformed into something far darker. His initial detachment, his inner observer, began to wane. The silks, the banquets, the clever dealings in the marketplace, which were once mere tools or curiosities, morphed into ends in themselves. A creeping weariness settled over him, a dull ache that wealth, no matter how vast, could not soothe. This was the nascent stage of soul sickness, an internal emptiness that echoed amidst external abundance. The laughter at his lavish parties rang hollow, the exquisite food tasted bland, and the clever conversations with merchants felt utterly trivial. He found himself performing, going through the motions, yet his spirit, once vibrant and questing, felt increasingly parched. The initial thrill of acquiring and possessing faded, replaced by an insatiable hunger that, paradoxically, left him more starved than before. He was accumulating, but not truly living. He was engaging, but not truly connecting. His inner voice, once a clear guide, became a whisper he could barely discern over the clinking of coins and the chatter of the marketplace. One of the most telling manifestations of this spiritual decline was Siddhartha's descent into gambling. What started perhaps as a pastime, a way to test his luck or sharpen his wits, quickly spiraled into an addiction. He would gamble away fortunes, driven not by the need for money, but by a desperate craving for sensation, for the brief, electrifying thrill of risk and reward. This compulsive cycle of winning and losing, of hope and despair, serves as a potent metaphor for samsara, the endless cycle of desire, attachment, and suffering. Each game, each wager, was a fleeting high followed by an inevitable crash, leaving him precisely where he started, perhaps even further behind, spiritually bankrupt. The gambling table became his personal hell, a microcosm of the meaningless cycles of grasping and release, promising everything but delivering nothing of lasting value, only perpetuating the illusion that the next win, the next big score, would finally fill the void. It was an endless, unfulfilling chase, mirroring the broader illusion of happiness found in material acquisition. And in this tragic transformation, we witness Siddhartha becoming the very child people he once observed with such detached judgment. He, who had once scorned their trivial pursuits, their vanity, their obsession with worldly possessions, now embodied these traits himself. He worried about his appearance, fretted over market fluctuations, indulged in gossip, and became entangled in the petty dramas of the wealthy. His sharp, spiritual intellect, once dedicated to enlightenment, was now dulled by wine and card games. His compassion, once boundless, was obscured by a cynical selfishness. The unique spark that set him apart, his inner quest, was extinguished beneath layers of conventionality and superficiality. He had become one of them, trapped in the same gilded cage, indistinguishable from the very people whose lives he had initially sought to understand but not emulate. His inner purpose, his quest for the self, had been utterly forgotten, replaced by a hollow imitation of success. This narrative, though ancient, resonates powerfully with the afflictions of our modern world. Siddhartha's game of wealth and fleeting pleasure finds its contemporary parallels in our pervasive culture of consumerism, the relentless pursuit of external validation, and the epidemic of burnout. We are constantly encouraged to acquire more, achieve more, and display more, often at the expense of our inner well-being. The endless scroll on social media, the chase for the next promotion, the accumulation of designer goods, these are our modern gambling tables, promising satisfaction, but often delivering only a fleeting hit, leaving us feeling empty and compelled to seek the next external fix. Just like Siddhartha, we can become so entangled in the pursuit of these external markers of success that we lose sight of our inner compass, silencing our authentic voice. The weariness he felt, the soul sickness, is the same chronic burnout many experience today, a deep exhaustion born not from hard work alone, but from the relentless, often meaningless, striving for something that doesn't nourish the soul. When the game consumes you, whether it's the game of ancient markets or modern digital validation, the emptiness that inevitably returns is the universe's gentle, yet firm, reminder that true fulfillment lies not in what you possess, but in who you are and the purpose you embody. To escape this trap requires recognizing the game for what it is and choosing a different path, one that leads inward rather than endlessly outward. We find Siddhartha at the very edge of his existence, physically and spiritually exhausted, utterly devoid of hope. His arduous journey through the sensual world, a desperate attempt to find meaning beyond the rigid spiritual paths, had culminated in a profound and suffocating emptiness. The vibrant life he once knew was gone, replaced by a gnawing despair that left him feeling completely alienated, adrift, and utterly alone. Standing by the river, the very place that had once offered him a fleeting moment of peace, Siddhartha now saw only an end. He contemplated annihilation, the ultimate surrender to the currents that promised to wash away his suffering, his failures, and the crushing weight of his ego. His mind, a maelstrom of self-loathing and futility, yearned for release. He wished for death for the simple act of ceasing to be. This was rock bottom, a cold, hard, desolate place where all hope seemed extinguished, where the weariness of endless striving finally prepared to consume him entirely. But in that precise, desperate moment, just as he leaned into the finality, something extraordinary happened. From the deepest, most forgotten part of his being, a sacred, resonant sound arose. Not a thought, not a memory, but a primordial vibration, an internal echo that seemed to shake his very core. The sound of Om is far more than a simple syllable. It is the fundamental sound of the universe, a symbol of ultimate reality, the totality of existence itself. It represents the intricate dance of creation, preservation, and dissolution, encompassing past, present, and future, and the transcendent state beyond. For Siddhartha, hearing Om was a sudden, visceral reconnection to the universe's inherent perfection, its undeniable wholeness, and the profound unity of all things. It was the echo of an eternal wisdom he had long abandoned, a spiritual lifeline thrown from within. This sacred syllable acted as a cosmic shockwave, jolting him back from the precipice. In that instant, the Siddhartha, burdened by desire, consumed by intellectual pride, and trapped by his own disillusioned ego, ceased to be. This was not a physical death, but a profound spiritual dissolution, the death of the weary, striving self, the complete collapse of his old identity. All the accumulated layers of worldly experience, all the bitter disappointments, all the intellectual posturing, simply fell away. And with that profound death came the space for an entirely new beginning. The transformative power of hitting rock bottom is immense, for it strips away every pretense, every illusion, every external crutch, leaving only the raw, unvarnished essence. When all avenues of escape are closed, when the ego finally breaks, it creates a fertile ground for profound rebirth. Siddhartha didn't just survive, he was fundamentally, irrevocably changed. His spiritual ears, once deafened by the noise of the world, were reopened. The river, which had threatened to be his grave, now flowed with purification, carrying him not to oblivion, but towards a radical, unexpected spiritual renewal, poised to truly listen and learn for the first time. Siddhartha's arduous journey for enlightenment had led him through the rigors of asceticism, the intoxicating allure of the senses, and the profound, yet ultimately incomplete, wisdom of the Gautama. Yet, his most profound awakening, his deepest understanding of life's intricate tapestry, would not come from another eloquent sermon or a complex philosophical treatise, but from the most unassuming of teachers, the humble ferryman, Vasudeva. Vasudeva, with his perpetually gentle smile and eyes that seemed to hold the quiet, timeless wisdom of the ages, was not a preacher in any conventional sense. He offered no grand doctrines, no prescriptive paths, no intricate philosophies to dissect. His true genius, his singular gift, lay in his absolute, unadulterated capacity to listen. He listened not merely to Siddhartha's spoken words, but to the silence between them, to the unspoken yearnings of his soul, to the very essence of the world unfolding around him. He was, in essence, a living embodiment of pure presence, a perfect mirror reflecting truth without ever imposing his own agenda or interpretation. This humble man, whose daily task was merely transporting souls across a river, became the unexpected conduit for Siddhartha's final, pivotal lesson. And what was this ultimate skill Vasudeva imparted? To listen deeply, fully, and without judgment to the river itself. The river, for Siddhartha and for us, becomes the central, pulsating metaphor for life in all its complexity and simplicity. It is a living symphony, a constant, flowing testament to unity, timelessness, and the ultimate harmony of all voices. As Vasudeva teaches Siddhartha, if you listen deeply enough, truly opening your inner ear, you begin to hear all voices in the river, the innocent laughter of children, the poignant cries of the suffering, the distant roar of a bustling city, the soft whisper of the wind through reeds, the joyous song of birds, the very sound of Om, the primordial vibration of creation. All of these seemingly disparate sounds, all of these individual experiences and beings merge into a single, magnificent, harmonious flow. It powerfully demonstrates that everything is interconnected, every life a unique ripple in the same vast, unending current. This is not a concept to be intellectually grasped, but an immersive, experiential truth that resonates with the deepest chambers of the soul. The river also imparts the profound lesson that the present moment contains within its boundless expanse all of past and future. The water that ceaselessly flows past any given point is never the same, yet it is always fundamentally the river. It carries within its ceaseless motion the echoes of its distant source, the accumulated memories of its winding journey, and the undeniable promise of the vast ocean it will eventually embrace. There is no need for regret over what has passed, nor for anxiety about what is yet to come. The river simply is, existing in a state of eternal becoming, perpetually renewing itself in the eternal now. To listen to the river with this understanding is to comprehend that the now is not a fleeting, microscopic point in time, but an expansive, all-encompassing reality where all moments, all experiences, all time converges. Every wisdom gained, every suffering endured, every joy celebrated, they are all inherently present, contributing to the immeasurable richness and texture of this one continuous moment. From Vasudeva, Siddhartha learns that the true path to wisdom isn't found in relentless striving, intellectual accumulation, or adherence to rigid doctrines, but in the profound simplicity of genuine being. It's revealed in patient observation, the quiet acceptance of what is, and the unwavering presence in each moment. The ferryman's life itself stands as a powerful testament to this truth, a life of selfless service, utterly devoid of ego, yet extraordinarily rich in its genuine connection to the natural world. He demonstrates that enlightenment is not some distant, ethereal goal to be achieved through Herculean effort, but a state of mind, a way of perceiving, that is entirely accessible through deep, empathetic listening, through embracing the natural flow of existence, through understanding that ultimate wisdom resides not just in ancient texts or revered teachers, but in the everyday miracles of existence, in the eternal, unassuming song of the river. This simple, humble ferryman, through his unwavering presence and his profound, intuitive connection to the natural world, guides Siddhartha to a state of complete unity and inner peace, ultimately transforming him into an enlightened ferryman himself. The wisdom of listening, Vasudeva's greatest gift, transcends all other forms of knowledge, dissolving the illusion of separation and revealing the inherent harmony of all things in the universe. Siddhartha, having found a measure of peace by the river with Vasudeva, believed his journey of self-discovery, of shedding attachments, was nearing its completion. Yet, life, in its profound wisdom, had one final, excruciating lesson in store for him, one that would force him to confront the last, most stubborn vestige of his ego, the unconditional, yet deeply humanizing, love for a son. The arrival was as unexpected as it was jarring. Kamala, the courtesan, with whom he had once shared a life of sensual indulgence, lay dying at the river's edge, leaving behind a boy, his son, also named Siddhartha. This child was a living embodiment of the past he had striven to transcend, a sudden, tangible tether to the world of desire he thought he had abandoned. Siddhartha, the ascetic, the seeker, was utterly unequipped for fatherhood. His attempts to love his son were clumsy, born not of selfless devotion, but of a desperate, grasping need. He saw in the boy a mirror of his own youthful arrogance, a chance to impart the wisdom he had gained, to save him from the very mistakes he himself had made. His love was possessive, a fierce clutching, an attempt to mold the boy into his own vision of an ideal successor, a vessel for his accumulated enlightenment. He showered the boy with affection, tried to guide him, to immerse him in the simple, spiritual rhythms of the river life, hoping to fill the void of his absent mother and ease his deep unhappiness. But the young Siddhartha, wild and resentful, a true son of the city, recoiled from his father's gentle offerings. He longed for the vibrant, boisterous life he remembered, despising the quietude of the ferryman's hut, viewing his father as a strange, silent figure, an obstacle to his own desires. The boy's coldness, his outright rejection, inflicted upon Siddhartha a pain more profound than any he had ever known. This was not the spiritual agony of a soul grappling with existence, but the raw, visceral ache of a parent whose heart is broken by a child's indifference. For the first time, Siddhartha experienced common human suffering in its unadulterated form, the agony of unrequited love, the bitter disappointment of unmet expectations, the universal anguish of attachment. He finally understood, intimately, the mundane sorrows of the ordinary people he had once looked down upon, the ceaseless cycle of desire and suffering that binds humanity. He saw himself in his son, the same untamed spirit, the same yearning for a world beyond, the same inability to conform. The process of learning to love without possession was excruciating. Siddhartha clung to his son, tried to change him, to bend his will towards a path of peace. He felt the chains of the world tightening around him once more, pulling him away from the serene detachment he had so diligently cultivated. Vasudeva, the silent ferryman, watched with compassionate eyes, offering subtle guidance. Love does not live by begging. Siddhartha wrestled with his attachment, a constant internal battle between his enlightened understanding and his deeply human paternal instincts. He endured the daily pain of his son's defiance, his disdain, his eventual, inevitable flight back to the city. He pursued him briefly, a desperate, heart-wrenching chase, until Vasudeva's quiet wisdom resonated within him, reminding him that just as he had needed to find his own way, so too must his son. Letting his son go, truly letting go of the need to control, to possess, to even guide, became Siddhartha's final, most difficult act of surrender. He returned to the river, heartbroken, yet profoundly transformed. In that crucible of grief, as the deepest wound of attachment finally bled dry, something extraordinary happened. The individual pain, the personal suffering, dissolved. He stopped trying to impose his will or his love. He understood that true love grants freedom, allowing the beloved to walk their own path, however divergent. The river, his eternal teacher, now sang not just of individual lives, but of the unity of all existence, of the interconnectedness of every journey, every suffering, every joy. His individual attachment to his son expanded into a universal compassion, an all-encompassing empathy for all beings and their intricate, often painful, paths through life. This ultimate act of relinquishing his last, most cherished possession, his son, was the final key, unlocking the door to a boundless, universal love, completing his profound journey to enlightenment. He was finally whole, finally one with the river, the world, and himself. We arrive now at the culmination of Siddhartha's journey, the moment of profound transformation, where the relentless seeker finally finds what he has sought, not in a distant temple or an elusive doctrine, but in the very fabric of existence around him. This is Chapter 10, Enlightenment in a Stone, the Unity of Everything. Years have passed since Siddhartha last saw his devoted friend, Govinda, who himself has journeyed far, following paths of asceticism and seeking wisdom through various teachers. Their paths converge again by the river. Govinda, now an aged monk, still restless, still searching for that ultimate truth. He recognizes the ferryman only vaguely at first, sensing a familiar spirit, a profound peace emanating from the old man. Govinda pours out his heart, confessing his unending quest, his inability to grasp the final, unifying insight he craves. Siddhartha listens with immense compassion, his gaze reflecting the serenity of the river itself. He explains to Govinda a profound truth: knowledge can be communicated, but not wisdom. He elaborates, saying that wisdom is not a thing to be taught or learned from books or sermons, but rather an experience, a living understanding that must be felt and absorbed. It is personal, ineffable beyond words. What one person calls wisdom, another might call foolishness. Each individual must find it within themselves, for wisdom is inherent in life, waiting to be perceived, not acquired. Siddhartha then unveils his ultimate realization, the core of his enlightenment. He tells Govinda that the world, in every single moment, is perfect. There is no need to strive for a future ideal, for the ideal is already here now, He has learned to love the world as it is, with all its imperfections, its joys, and its sorrows. He sees the flow of time as an illusion, for everything that has been, everything that is, and everything that will be exists simultaneously in the eternal present. The suffering, the beauty, the transience, all are interwoven threads in the perfect tapestry of being. Holiness, he reveals, is not found in renouncing the world or escaping its cycle, but in embracing it with a boundless, unconditional love. It is found in loving a stone, a tree, a simple fairy, a child's laugh, a bird's song, seeing the divine, the in every single manifestation. He points to the river, explaining how it is made of countless drops, each distinct, yet all united in the flow. He speaks of how seemingly disparate elements, light and darkness, good and evil, life and death, are not opposing forces but parts of the same whole, constantly flowing into one another, creating the intricate dance of existence. In that moment, Govinda perceives a transformation in Siddhartha's face, a radiant glow, a smile that encompasses all, a smile of ultimate understanding and boundless love. It is the smile of one who has merged with the stream of life, who sees the interconnectedness of all things, who has found peace not by transcending the world, but by fully accepting and loving it. Govinda bows, no longer seeking, but humbled and touched by the silent, profound wisdom radiating from his old friend, a wisdom not spoken, but embodied in the serene acceptance of a single, perfect moment. This is the unity, the acceptance, the serene peace found not in a distant nirvana, but in the heart of every stone, every smile, every breath. All right, we've explored the profound ideas of John Stuart Mill and the philosophy of utilitarianism, the pursuit of the greatest good for the greatest number, and the nuanced understanding of happiness that underpins it. But how do we take these abstract concepts and weave them into the fabric of our daily lives? How do we move beyond theory to true, lived experience? That's precisely what our 7-day Siddhartha Challenge is designed to do. Don't be fooled by the name. While it draws inspiration from a journey of self-discovery, its practical steps offer a powerful pathway to integrating the core themes we've discussed, helping you cultivate a more discerning, impactful, and ultimately, a more truly happy existence. This isn't about grand gestures, it's about small, deliberate actions that can shift your perspective and enrich your understanding of well-being, both personal and collective. Let's begin. Days 1 and 2, listen. For these first 2 days, I invite you to find a quiet spot in a natural setting, your backyard, a local park, a window overlooking trees. Spend just 15 minutes there. Your only goal is to listen, not to label the sounds, not to identify that's a bird or that's the wind, but simply to receive the auditory experience. Allow the sounds to wash over you without judgment, without analysis. This practice cultivates a profound level of presence and empathy. By quieting our internal dialogue and truly listening to the world around us, we hone our ability to perceive without bias, a crucial skill for understanding the diverse experiences and potential for happiness in others. It's about opening ourselves to unfiltered input, allowing us to better assess the world as it is, which is fundamental to any utilitarian consideration of impact and well-being. Days 3 and 4 experience. Now, let's turn our attention to active engagement. Think of one thing you've only ever read about, watched a video on, or considered doing, perhaps a new recipe, a simple craft, learning a few phrases in a new language, or even trying a new route for your daily walk. For these 2 days, your challenge is to actually do it. Don't just observe, participate. Mill emphasized the importance of developing our higher faculties, of engaging in pursuits that challenge and enrich us, leading to a more profound and lasting sense of happiness than mere sensual gratification. This act of stepping into direct experience isn't just about the outcome. It's about the process, the learning, and the satisfaction derived from expanding your own capabilities and understanding. It's about actively generating richer forms of pleasure and fulfillment, contributing to your own well-being in a way that aligns with a more elevated understanding of happiness. Days 5 and 6, let go. For the next 2 days, we delve into the often challenging practice of release. Identify one small thing in your life that you've been consciously or unconsciously trying to control. Perhaps it's a specific outcome for a project, someone else's opinion of you, or even a minor daily frustration. Now, consciously release your attachment to it. This doesn't mean you stop caring or pursuing your goals. Instead, it means you let go of the need for things to be precisely as you envision them. Observe the feeling of that attachment, acknowledge it, and then imagine yourself gently unclenching your fist, allowing that expectation to float away. Mill, in his discussions of liberty and happiness, understood that true flourishing often comes from a clear-eyed perspective, free from the burdens of futile control. By letting go of these minor attachments, you free up mental and emotional energy, reducing unnecessary suffering and gaining a clearer perspective on what truly matters. This clarity enables more rational, less ego-driven decision-making, which is invaluable when considering actions that impact the greater good. It fosters a more tranquil mind, a component of enduring happiness, and frees you to act with greater purpose rather than anxiety. Day 7C. Finally, on our last day, we bring it all together. Pick a simple, everyday object. It could be a rock you find on your path, a leaf from a plant, a grain of rice, or even a single drop of water. Spend a few moments truly looking at it. Try to see it not just as a part of something larger or as having a specific utility, but as a complete and perfect thing, just as it is, in its own existence. Observe its textures, its colors, its unique form. In a world often driven by comparison and judgment, this practice invites us to appreciate intrinsic value and inherent beauty. It reminds us that every individual element, every person, every moment possesses a unique essence. This perspective expands our capacity for appreciation and joy, contributing to a rich inner life. It fosters a holistic view, seeing the inherent worth in distinct parts that collectively form a more beautiful and complex whole, a valuable lens through which to consider the diverse elements that contribute to overall societal well-being and happiness. This 7-day challenge is an invitation to engage with the world and yourself in a deeper, more intentional way. By actively listening, experiencing, letting go, and truly seeing, you're not just practicing mindfulness, you're cultivating the very qualities that allow for a more nuanced understanding of happiness, a greater capacity for empathy, and a more effective approach to contributing to the greatest good, the very heart of Mill's utilitarian philosophy. Embrace these practices and notice how they begin to transform your perspective, moving you from passive observer to active participant in the ongoing quest for well-being. Having journeyed through the intricate and profound landscape of John Stuart Mill's utilitarianism, we arrive not at a simple checklist of actions, but at a deeper, more personal understanding of ethical living. While Mill offered a powerful, rational framework for evaluating actions by their consequences, The true enduring wisdom revealed through grappling with his ideas transcends mere calculation. It's about how we fundamentally engage with our existence, our choices, and our collective humanity. Let us distill this complex journey into three core, eternal truths. Our first profound realization is this: your path is your own. Mill champions the cultivation of individuality, understanding that applying utilitarian principles isn't rigid dogma, but a dynamic, personal endeavor. True wisdom isn't borrowed from teachers, books, or gurus. It's an internal alchemy forged in the crucible of your lived experience. You might study Mill, but the real understanding, the kind that genuinely guides your choices towards the greatest good, solidifies when you grapple with these ideas in the context of your own decisions, your own relationships, your own contributions. It's in the wrestling with real-world dilemmas, the triumphs, the missteps, and the quiet reflections that genuine ethical insight takes root. You are the architect of your moral understanding, the ultimate arbiter of how best to pursue the principle of utility in the rich tapestry of your life. This personal journey naturally leads to our second enduring truth: all of life is the teacher. When we commit to a principle like utilitarianism, to striving for the greatest good for the greatest number, we inevitably encounter unforeseen challenges. The world is messy, consequences are complex, and what seems optimal might reveal unforeseen ripple effects. Here, the traditional notion of wrong turns begins to dissolve, reframing itself as an opportunity. Every experience, every outcome, whether it brings the pleasure we sought or the pain of unintended consequences, becomes a vital data point. It's not a failure, but a lesson. It refines your understanding of human nature, societal dynamics, and the true impact of actions. From successful altruism to flawed decisions, each moment enriches your experiential database. Just as a scientist refines a hypothesis based on experimental results, so too does an ethical agent refine their approach to utility through the continuous feedback loop of life itself. The entire spectrum of existence, in all its light and shadow, serves as an indispensable guide, shaping a more nuanced, compassionate, and effective application of the principles we've explored. Finally, our deep dive into Mill's profound insights culminates in our third eternal truth: wisdom is presence. It's easy to view ethical frameworks, even utilitarianism, as a distant, intellectual exercise or a future destination. But enlightenment, true wisdom in action, isn't a place you arrive at. It's the quality of your attention, the depth of your engagement right now. It's the ability to pause, to truly listen, not just to the external world and the needs of others, but to the subtle currents within yourself as you navigate choices aimed at maximizing happiness. It is the capacity to embrace and love the world precisely as it is, with all its imperfections, its injustices, its immense joys, and its profound sorrows, for it is in this present reality that opportunities for applying utility truly lie. This present moment awareness allows for genuine empathy, crucial for identifying where the greatest good can be achieved most effectively. It means applying the principle of utility not as a cold, detached calculation, but as an active, compassionate engagement with the lived reality of those around you. To be truly wise in the utilitarian sense is to be fully present to the intricate dance of consequences, to continuously learn, and to act with an open heart in the pursuit of a better world, one conscious moment at a time. It is to embody the very essence of seeking the greater good here and now. These three eternal truths, illuminated by our exploration of utilitarianism, offer a profound compass for navigating the ethical complexities of existence, inviting us not merely to understand, but to truly live a life of purpose and positive impact. As our exploration of John Stuart Mill's Utilitarianism draws to a close, we find ourselves at a new beginning, the continuation of your own intellectual and ethical journey. We've delved into the profound pursuit of the greatest happiness for the greatest number, examined the nuances of individual liberty, and grappled with the complex interplay between justice and utility. This isn't merely an academic exercise, it's a framework for understanding and navigating the moral landscape of our lives. Now, I invite you to reflect on your own path. Which aspects of utilitarianism's quest for a meaningful life, or its insights into collective well-being and individual purpose, resonated most deeply with your personal experiences or ethical reflections? Perhaps you found a new perspective on an old dilemma or a principle that illuminated your own values. Share your story, your insights, or your questions in the comments below. Your contributions not only enrich the discussion, but also inspire others on their own paths of self-discovery. If you found value in this journey through Mill's timeless wisdom, if it sparked new thoughts or deepened your understanding, please show your support. A simple like on this video goes a long way, and subscribing ensures you won't miss our future explorations into the ideas that shape our world and ourselves. Join us as we continue to unearth the treasures hidden within classic texts and contemporary thought. The best way to truly internalize these powerful ideas, however, is to engage with them directly. I wholeheartedly encourage you to read John Stuart Mill's Utilitarianism for yourself. Experience the full depth and nuance of his arguments in his own words. Let it challenge, provoke, and guide your thinking. And as you consider your next intellectual adventure, let us know which other great books, philosophers, or concepts you'd like us to explore in future videos. Your suggestions help shape our journey together. Finally, for those who wish to delve even deeper, to engage in spirited discussions, and to connect with fellow seekers of wisdom, we invite you to join our growing community on our dedicated platform. There, you can discuss these ideas in more depth, share resources, and forge connections that extend beyond the screen. The conversation doesn't end here, it merely transforms. We look forward to continuing this journey of discovery with you.